Welcome back and thank you for staying with us on Daybreak. So the local government elections happened over the weekend in Jigawa State, Benue State, Akwa Ibom and Rivers State. And this election has left many with more questions than answers. So as we dissect the outcome of these polls, we are compelled to examine the effectiveness of the local government administration in Nigeria. We'll be tackling the topic of local government administration, analyzing council elections and autonomy. Now we have joining us experts who will shed more light on the implications of these elections and quest for the local government autonomy. We'll dive into the historical context of this local governance in Nigeria, the benefits and challenges of this autonomy, and also the role of media in shaping this public perception. We have in the studio a seasoned constitutional lawyer, Mr. Sam Kago. He's a senior advocate of Nigeria to dissect this. Thank you so much, SEN.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, appreciate you there. And also we have Dengiyefa Angalapu. He is a research analyst with the Center for Democracy and Development. Also a political scientist interested in research and teaching on development challenges in the global south, specifically focusing on issues around democracy, identity politics, and conflict. Good morning.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Always a pleasure having you. All right, let's start from you, SN. Now, the thing is, how do you access, the legal framework governing when it comes to council elections in Nigeria? And are there any areas where reforms are needed to ensure fairness and transparency?
Well, you see, the legal framework is very clear, and it is meant to actually establish and make the local government councils, authority of government. The Constitution says every state must ensure that the local councils are run by democratically elected persons. That is clear in the books. But what has been the experience? The governors appropriated the entire machinery of the state to the extent that the local councils are just there on paper. In fact, their own argument has been, and the belief has been, that local government council is not authority of government. To them, it is just an appendage of the state, and it's to be run at the pleasure of the governors. But monies are actually allocated from the center through the states for the benefits of the local councils. But the experience has been that the governors would hijack the money, pocket it, and it becomes their own personal properties. Most of the time, the only thing that they allow or give to the local councils is for them to pay salaries. After the salaries, every other aspect that has to do with the governance of the local councils is dictated by them from the government houses. And what has been the experience for Nigeria is that governance is not reaching and never reach the nooks and crannies of the country. Because governance is not there at the local councils or the local government areas, what did we have? Bandits, insurgency, taking over the country. And the reason is simple. Once you don't have governance at that level, you don't have an oversighting machinery to ensure that the people at the local government councils are protected. But mind you, the majority of the people, almost everybody, lives at that level. And for developed countries and countries that are actually very serious about development and growth, development is bottom up.
Indeed.
And the power to give contracts, to make roads, to provide amenities is given to local councils. For an example, the counties.
All right.
If you go to the US, for an example, the governor has no business with contracts. All he has is about policies. The development of the state is what? In the hands of this particular tier of government.
Yeah. All right, we'll come back to that because we need to dive into the implications or the punishment of, people interfering with legal framework, something that has already been set on stone, especially when it comes to Nigeria's constitution. But let's go back to you, Angalapu, on this matter. You, Center for Democracy and Development, are part of the people that observe these elections happening. So I want to hear your take on the election that happened in the 4 states on Saturday. What is your take on, the election and how far, or so far, how it has gone?
Yeah, so it is really very interesting. I would begin from, the whole local government autonomy thing and then how we've gotten here. So, of course, the Supreme Court judgment gave financial autonomy, but we had always maintained that financial autonomy, it's not enough. Financial autonomy should go along with political autonomy. And in fact, there is a thought I will have, and that is career autonomy. I would explain that. So of course, you said you are going to be transferring monies to the local government, and all local governments have to conduct, elections. But we have to realize that what political actors and governors and many people call structures are the local government chairmen and councillors. That's what they basically call structures. When they say I have a structure, that's what it means. So it would mean that, they have that desire to control the chairmen and councillors. And it is now, so you will see that at that level, it is beyond financial autonomy. So the local government are relevant to the governors and even political actors beyond just the finances. And that is what came out to play in the elections. You will see basically politicians already planning for 2027. And what they think will deliver them are the structures. And how will the structures come about? It is actually basically putting in somebody there that will deliver them. So you see the election in Rivers State where, although the PDP did not participate, of course, but it is alleged that the governor basically sponsored all the candidates from the APP. And you will see that they basically won the seats. So. Yeah, and of course in Okargbo, same thing, barring the chairmanship position from the Akpabio's LGA. You will see from the Anambra to same thing, right? So you will see that basically whatever that is we complain about, elections in Nigeria at the national level also takes place in a worse form in the state level, because state governors are trying to exert their control. So for them, it's more of a game of survival. So let's just say the Supreme Court has given a judgment, and we expect that probably maybe the thinking of Nigerian is that the local government chairman, the chairman of local government will begin to revolt against the governors to say, oh no, we are now autonomous and all of that. But that's not how it works. The third is the career-wise. When a local government chairman, the tenure elapses, he wants to be a commissioner. He wants to be a special advisor. You have to be loyal to a governor to do that. So even without the governor exerting that influence, you see chairmen that come on board to say, I want to be loyal to you because I don't want my career to end as a local government, chairman. Now, the other dimension is that the state House of Assembly, are basically lackeys of state governors. Just much like we have, as a National Assembly, the executive basically controls the other tiers of government, which is quite sad. So you will realize that the governors also can use that harm, to begin to wish on the chairmen and people in power that are not actually loyal to him. So what you saw at play in the elections basically shows the lack of democratic values, one, and secondly, the idea that we should not be simplistic about the local government autonomy thing. It is beyond financial autonomy. It is also about political autonomy. It is also about career autonomy, because the state independent electoral commissions are basically controlled by the governors, and they appoint people that are there, and we have seen it at play. How can you have a situation where you are a state governor, you conduct elections, and all of a sudden every single chairman, every single chairman that comes on board, it's a member of your party. So it's a very, very complex situation. The second aspect of it is that while we think that when local governments, autonomy comes to the local government, automatically there will be grassroots development. We've tried this before. Remember during Senator David Marks tenure, October 2014, I remember, they passed this bill, and then it went to the state assemblies. They rejected it. The National Union of Teachers rejected it and also said that during 1990 to 1994, when local governments were paying teachers, that the most local government owed from 6 months to 12 months, that they couldn't pay the salaries. So it is not very, very simplistic. So let us look at it, very holistically, looking at financial autonomy, political autonomy, and also the structure of the Nigerian system.
All right. Let me come back to Barrister on this matter. Now, earlier you spoke about how there is already a legal framework when it comes to this. But one of the things that is concerning for Nigeria is the implementation of this legal, punishment for governors, even though we know they have this immunity. So how does it sit well with justice when it comes to handling matters like this?
It's a difficult one, because as it is today, a governor can get away with blue murder. We have this single executive system, first at the central, that's the federation. The president is everything. He sits atop of every aspect of the federation. The same thing with the state. The governor is the sole ruler of the state. It's difficult for you to have a very effective local council system with the present constitution of the governor. When I mean constitution of the governor, the powers of the governor. Because, you see, even in allocation of the powers to the chairs of government, the constitution is very clear about the powers of the federation and the powers of the state, the governor. But when it comes to the powers of the local councils, it's very ambivalent. First, say ensure that the councils are governed by democratically elected. Why not just specify it the same way as you've done for the president or for the presidency, that is the executive, and the National Assembly, the same way you've done for the governor? You've not. Even in the areas where you specify their functions, the functions are very nebulous. If you look at it, the question you would ask is, if they have this money, what actually can they do? Take a look at the functions that they have. The functions are basically nebulous. They are not specific. But if we really want to have that system to work, the first thing is to amend the constitution, create it as a specific tier of government with clear mandate. And that mandate should be towards development. I do not care about if you want to give the management of cemetery to the governor, but at that level, let the constitution clearly state that it's your business to make roads, it's your business to take care of hospitals, it's your business to take care of primary school, all of this. Because what? That is where the people live. It is because the governors themselves do not believe that if these people have money, they have any other job they can do that they are not doing. At the end of the day, even their participation in economic development, it is tied to what? the policies of the state government.
I mean,
nothing specific for them.
Yeah.
This is where we start. And that is why I'm happy with when you're talking about the issue of political autonomy. Political autonomy has to start with what? What the Constitution allocates to them as a tier of government. It is, the governors are very, very inventive and very clever. Take a look at what the NFI tried to do, to say you cannot spend beyond what? 500,000 a day without that money being tied to a specific project. Let me tell you what they did to circumvent that. Let me tell you, this is serious. Let me tell you what they did. In some states, they have brought this matter to me, and I have written on their behalf to the EFCC. A governor opened over 500 accounts and assigned what they call treasurers or whatever it is, and for each one of this one, the person would withdraw 500 cash and come to the government house in the evening and dump that cash.
Interesting. Mr. Okargbo, I'm going to definitely come back to you on this. But we have from Port Harcourt via Zoom, River State Commissioner for Information, Mr. Joe Johnson, via phone call rather, joining us to give more insight on what happened in River State. Good morning, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning to everybody.
Good morning, Nigerians.
I'm hearing you. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Director, I would want to hear from you. Do we still have Mr. Johnson, or we need to just get back here?
I'm on. I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. Good morning.
No, I cannot hear him.
I'm hearing you. Good morning.
Is he saying something?
Good morning. I'm hearing you.
No, I cannot hear him. We need to work on that, please. But then let's get back to the studio to continue our discussion. Hopefully he gets to join us to continue this. Now, let's talk to you, Mr. Angalapu, on this matter. So talking about this election matters and all of that, from a civil society analyst, from your perspective, what do you think is the main challenges, or are the main challenges, when it comes to election faced by citizens, and how their participation is when it comes to that, and how do you think these challenges can be maneuvered?
I think the most important challenge in Nigeria when it comes to electoral management is simply the problem of state capture. So whether you talk about INEC, whether you talk about SEC, I mean at the state level, they've all basically been captured. And the Rivers is a very peculiar example. So you see the Rivers State governor going ahead with the elections, when we had the court judgments. And if you flip it aside, you will also see the group alleged to be, to be loyal to Wike, the FCT minister, also going ahead to see, using some kind of federal might, I would say, because, the police and then INEC has been involved. So you realize that, and I heard your callers talked about that, if INEC conducts the elections, probably to be better and all of that. Yeah. But we could see how, for example, if that election in Rivers State was conducted by INEC, it probably wouldn't have been held, because the court judgment that barred INEC from providing the register, and the police that couldn't get involved because of the court order would have jeopardized the election from holding. So you can see that whether or not it is INEC, or the state, there's a state capture. It is just about who captures it at that moment. So, for example, let's imagine that INEC now conducts an election, conducts local government elections. What is going to happen is that the presidency and those at the federal level will begin to use INEC to manipulate all of the local government elections against the governor that they don't like. So it is not a very simplistic issue. So the problem in Nigeria is state capture. We've introduced technology, and I would say we've introduced technology, but you cannot digitize integrity. Yeah. You cannot digitize morality. So we've introduced technology, but technology is not working because of the human factor. We've basically not been able to tell ourselves the truth that we lack democratic values and do things the right way.
All right. Let's hear from Commissioner for Information, Mr. Joe Johnson. Good morning, Mr. Johnson.
Good morning. Can you hear me now?
Good morning.
Hello,
Mr.
can you hear? Good morning. Can you hear me?
I think something is wrong with our connections or the mic. But
can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm hearing you.
Studio, and I don't know why.
I'm hearing you now. It may be from your studio.
All right. I think right now I can hear you, but it's just through what I'm wearing, my earpiece. But I cannot hear you in the studio, and our other guests cannot hear you. I don't know what is wrong. Hopefully.
But I'm hearing you clearly. I'm hearing you clearly.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you clearly. I'm hearing you clearly.
All right, Mr. Johnson, let's hear from you about the outcome of the election, the process from the pre to post. What is your take on that?
Well, it was seamless. People participated in their numbers, and candidates who contested emerged. They were sworn in. 22 council chairmen emerged from the APP, and then one emerged from the AA, that's Action Alliance. When candidates from APC for the council, were candidates from YPP and the other political parties. So it was not a straight jacket for one political party. The painful side of it was that our party, which is the People's Democratic Party, did not partake. Yet, yesterday the governor swore in members of the councils that had won. And as expected, they will assume duties today. They will be going to the offices or the council for the first time. But the cheering news from the Nigerian police is that they have vacated the councils that were under siege in the last 3 months also. That is the situation as it is now.
All right, Mr. Johnson, there was a complaint of irregularities, and then let's not even join with the court order on election being stalled, but still we saw election in River State take place. What is your deduction from all of this? What happened?
As it is usually common, whenever there are contests, people will have dissensions, people will express dissatisfaction. But I can tell you that this election had an above average mark. For instance, that we didn't even have police who should be able to tell us the level of violence, and nobody was recorded to have died or nobody was killed. Tells you that whatever they would have called irregularities may be usually what you find when people lose an election. But in all, Rivers people are happy. The police that withdrew was based on the court. And if police withdrew, the court didn't say don't do election because there is already a subsisting law by our own constitution in section 8415 of our laws, the Electoral Act, that says that no court of the land should stop an electioneering process. If you are aggrieved, you can approach the courts. The courts are there, first, second, and third courts, which is the High Court, Court of Appeal, and then
all right.
The Supreme Court. These are courts that are open to
all right. Speaking on the court, Commissioner, there is a rumor that the PDP and the APP are heading to court. What is the true, topic on that? What is the true discussion on that matter? How true is it?
It's funny. How can APC go to court? If a faction that is not even known to law, a faction headed by Tony Okocha, which a state high court had declared as an impostor, goes to court, what do you think they will get? Then the other faction is a PDP that openly declared that they were not going to contest. So you can see that that's what they call conspiratorial plots. They are all trying to conspire to make the process look unworthy. But the truth of the matter is that we have finished the election. Officers have emerged. those who feel aggrieved can go to court. The court will test out everything.
All right.
And I know that in the spirit of the court will say what they feel it is right until we get to the higher ladder.
Okay.
Which is the Court of Appeal, and then the Supreme Court. Then we'll know where we stand.
All right. We'll have to wait and see. The most important thing is the choice of the residents of River State to be put to play. But then thank you so much, Mr. Joe Johnson, for joining us. I appreciate you.
God bless you. I appreciate you too.
All right. Now, that was Commissioner for Information of River State. Now, you've heard what he said. Gentlemen, I want to start with you, considering you people were at the forefront of this, observing all of this. Based on what he said, do you agree? Or if there is any discrepancies, let's hear your take.
Yeah, so there are some things I agree with. First is the fact that there wasn't any recorded case of violence, and that really speaks to the fact that when citizens come in consensus to do something, they can actually achieve it without violence.
Indeed.
But of course, there were also some things, some downside in the elections, in places where we saw pictures. You hardly saw female voters. That's to say that the apprehension and all of the pre-election happenings made people really afraid, and that could also have resulted in a low voter turnout. We've not analyzed the voter turnout figure, which is also a very important indicator of a healthy democracy. So I think that those are some of the things that that should be dealt on. And then the other thing really that it's a bit disturbing about the election, it's the role of the judiciary. And SAN is here, and probably he will speak more to that. I respect the judiciary a lot, but all of the very conflicting judgment by coordinate courts, it's very disturbing to some of us that are outside and just political analysts. But I mean, probably the lawyers and the courts have their way of doing things, but it's really disturbing for our democracy.
Indeed. All right, let's say, and coming back to you now, with everything the commissioner said, with what we have witnessed that happened in River State, I mean, our attention is on River State because we saw how the pre-election matters got all chaotic with court order and all of that. Explain to us in legal or in layman's term what these legal infractions of court saying you cannot, but the election needs to be stalled, and then the state government going ahead to do it. We know they have immunity, but what does it speak when it comes to breaking the law of the judicial system, and how come the judiciary just stalled the election and even give other reasons of our police not partaking on that? Just explain to Nigerians.
Well, I would have to be very cautious here. Just like you said, I am a senior member of the bar. I have to be very, very careful what I say. I wasn't part of that process, and I have not read the processes that what we call the course of actions. You must have a grievance that you take to the court, and the court is duty bound to hear you, irrespective of the morality of your course of action. The court would hear you, and if you convince the court, they will give you the relief that you ask for. And we are worried as members of the bar about the involvement of the courts in political disputes. It is because of the nature of politicians and politics. That is why the general principle is that political matters are best resolved through political means, and that the court should be wary about intervening in political disputes. And the law creates a very narrow window for the court to come in. For an example, if you as an individual, you participate in an election of whatever kind, either pre-election or whatever, and you feel aggrieved, you as an aspirant has the right to approach either of the courts, High Court or the Federal High Court, to ventilate your grievance. That is allowed. Before now, no. The parties can hold elections. You win the elections, but the chairman will look at you to say, I don't like your face. And they withdraw your candidature and give it to another person. And the court will say, hey, that's a problem. That's an internal affair. But the Electoral Act, with respect to elections that are conducted by political parties and those conducted by INEC, it's made provision specifically for the intervention of the court to resolve such grievances. There is also an aspect that we all have to be a little bit wary about. If a court gives an order, irrespective of the justification or irrespective of how perverse, we lawyers say perverse, when an order is given that on the face of it is not supported by the general principles of law, we say it's perverse.
Okay.
You understand? You people will say, oh, common sense does not support this. So we are saying, irrespective of how perverse an order is, it is the business of the person to whom it is addressed to respect that order. Because if you are given the latitude to pick and choose or to give value to others, then you undermine the integrity of the court. If an order is made against you, the propriety is for you to what? Go on appeal, or you challenge that given your own ground. For example, if you say, oh, the court that gave this does not even have the jurisdiction to say this or to make the order, you have that right. For an example, I read some tidbits of the actions by some of these parties against the election, to the effect that INEC had not done what? The necessary voter update, right? And therefore, many people will be disenfranchised. To me, that's not your business. It is for those who will be affected to approach the court to say, hey, I am an adult, I am a resident of this place, a citizen, I have the right to vote. But the register has what? Does not have me in there, and therefore the INEC has what? The duty to update the register so that what? I cannot be disenfranchised.
All right.
That particular right is for me and not for a party to come and what? Ask INEC or ask the police not to release the register because you feel the register is incoherent. To me, that's my own opinion. But the greater duty is for us to obey court orders. I am not saying
I understand you, Barrister, but even though we don't have enough time, honestly, to dissect this, because if I'm supposed to just, I wish we had someone from River State. It would say there was not much time for the River State governor to go to court, while stalling the election. That's if he's to react to the court order. But then I hope we get to have another time.
That can be an excuse. Assuming.
I hope we get to have more time.
Listen, this is serious. If the order is a legitimate order, I'm using the word here.
But you just use the word perverse, though.
No, listen.
And it's really like that.
No, listen. What I'm saying is, assuming the order is justified, time cannot give you a justification for you to disobey it.
All right, quickly, Mr. Angalapu, let's just hear your roundup, because joining the autonomy of local government and the current, election that happens in councils. What's your take? Quickly, the future of it.
Yeah, just to say that local governments are very important, it's a very important tier of government, and if Nigeria wants to develop, the local governments must develop. And what we have seen shouldn't be seen as, some form of victory. There is still a very long walk to freedom. For the fact that many political parties did not participate, the fact that citizens did not come out in mass also shows that possibly they don't even believe that the election was credible. Possibly they don't even believe probably that local government have real autonomy, because no one will want to invest in a process where you already know the results. So I think it's very, very important, and it goes to tell us that it's a continuous work, and we must work to ensure that local governments are free.
Indeed, we still have a long way to go. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Mr. Sam Cargo, SAN, appreciate you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right. And also, Mr. Dengiyefa Angalapu, thank you so much for joining us this morning to dissect this.
Thank you. Thank you, Nigeria.